Continuing on with our backyard. We've done the size, which is the width and the distance and the motions. Just review that. It'll stay in your brain if you review it daily, maybe more than once each day. Missions. That says, I know there's a little glare. Did we go? During what wars? How many human attempts? I know we say manned attempts, but hey, women are going on the next one. And anyway, how many attempts with people? How many of those attempts succeeded? We're going to do that now, and that'll lead into the origins. So let's go over and see what I've got for you. Okay. How's that? Not too bad. So, spacesuit on, let's do this. Missions. I'm going to make this quick. I encourage you to watch the video. You can find it on YouTube. It's by National Geographic, so I like to go to their in the one that they post. They did it. They put a lot of work into it. It's called Direct from the Moon. It's about 45 minutes, 47 minutes, something like that. It's really good, and it goes along kind of nicely with this chapter 6. It's a short chapter, but really good, because this chapter is bringing us into space exploration. We talk now about going to Mars, and we'll talk about that and how much more of a challenge it is to do that. So if we want to do that, we may need to go back to Moon. Wait, go back? Did we ever go? I know there was a special put out, I'll just call it out, by Fox. And it was disgrace. It was a disgrace. So if you want, you can go to YouTube or check out Mythbusters called Moon Hoax, H-O-A-X, and they've got a bunch of videos to show the stuff. If you watch that special called "Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Moon," or the Moon, and you don't know any of this stuff, you might be convinced, like, wow, it sounds reasonable. And I watched it, and I said, convince me, convince me, I'm open. Nothing. It was so bad. It was, I don't know, like telling someone that come off the field of a football game, Super Bowl, who knows, whatever, and say, hey, why weren't you out there playing? And they were playing the whole game. Like, what do you mean I was out there? No, you weren't. I mean, and on top of that, you'll see that it's really disrespectful to the people involved. Not just the people that went, but the people who went too. They're risking their lives. It took a lot of courage and to do this sort of thing. To say someone didn't do something when they did, and particularly when they put their hard work into it, and sometimes their lives on the line, to make that statement is very weak. And you can read arguments in the book. I'll make one argument in just a moment, but that's all I'm going to say. So the answer is yes. You better bring me some hard, clear evidence, and that was completely bogus. Every aspect of it completely wrong. Anyway, okay. Historical context is important here. World War II. I wasn't alive either. 1936, 1944. And important, sometimes you don't want to fight these wars. But we were involved in this war. Our allies included the USSR. Right? So after that, though, we had different ideologies. Capitalism in the U.S. and communism, capitalist democracy in the U.S. and communism in the USSR. And so there were tensions over power. Don't get me started on that. Nonetheless, there was a Cold War, so-called Cold War, between the two. And the Cold War got hot, so there were things to learn about because it informs us now. We have to, things are coming up again now, so we have to pay to know this context. Cuban Missile Crisis, know what that is. It's a pretty simple thing, but it was very scary. Vietnam War, I wasn't but when you look at it in historical context. Vietnam War, late 60s to the early 70s. This is the context of our Apollo missions. So if you look in the book, you will see a list of a lot of missions, a lot of Soviet missions and a lot of US missions. In my class, I don't expect you to remember all those, but just understand that there were a lot of missions. And they were all robotic, right? Unmanned, pretty simple back then. The technology was really simple. And what you found in the space race is that the USSR, the Soviets, were ahead of the US. And that had military security concerns. That was dangerous. And so that's a technology too, with missiles, etc. So you'll look at the speech that John F. Kennedy gave to the country, that we will put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. What decade? 1960s. And so that was the mission. And in doing that, we developed other technologies to protect the country militarily, etc., and advance things. But there's an interesting story here, I think. There's another side to this coin that comes out that is quite moving, really. And so there was a military context, and there was a military need, like it or not, and we usually don't like having to have that between these two. So lots of missions, and then we're going to put someone on the moon. So we had to really develop all of our technology and put our resources toward that and be committed to doing that. So the year, let's talk about these that often don't get talked about, and I want to. The year is January 1967, Apollo 1. There were 3 people that were going to go. And in a test fire up, there was an explosion right there on the pad. And those 3 people died. So when you say, oh, we didn't go to the moon, people died. Families lost these people. I mean, this is not a game, right? So you got to test it, and you go, well, we better really test this stuff. 2 through 6, there were no people in these missions, but you had to test the equipment, send it up, make sure it works, make sure it comes back, etc. 68, Apollo 7, 3 people got in there, did a low Earth orbit. In the red, I have where we actually went to moon. But these 2 did not land. So December 21 to 27, so that's interesting, and you know what time, so like 7 days, like a week. We talked about that, going up there rocket, 3 days up, 3 days back. So 6 days, right? So 7 days. 1968, Apollo 8, 3 went to moon and orbited 10 times, Christmas Eve. And there's cool footage, so I really encourage you just to look at some of the clips. Look at some of the clips. And it's pretty neat to see. And again, direct from the moon by National Geographic is a wonderful video. Then we've got Apollo 9, March 1969. We're getting closer. Got to get there, right? Into the decade. 3 people orbit Earth and test a lander. So we're going to talk about the lander. And then Apollo 10 went again for the second time. People went to moon, left. You see, when you're orbiting close to Earth, your view is very close, and you really don't get that view of Earth as a whole planet, which was moving to those individuals and is moving even to us to get that view back and to see those images that I've shown you, and you can see of Earth. We'll come back to that. So 3 went up to test to moon and tested the lander and tested the lander abort. What I mean by that is this. Let me make sure that you can see this. So I'll show you how this kind of works, and we'll talk about this again one more time. So let me make sure you can see that color pretty well. Oh, good enough. And sorry. to that. Bring it in a little closer. We know that distance isn't quite right, but at all. There we go, Earth and Moon. And the way these missions work, you put more people in, it's going to take more fuel, right? It's harder to launch it, etc. So you need the right balance. So 3 is always the right balance. So you got 3 people in here. And you've got the command module, or orbiter, if you want to call it that, the command module. So they're going and you dump your rockets and you go through stages and you go there and you go up, and Apollo 8 orbited and you came back, near side, far side, near side, far side. When you're on the far side, you lose communication, so that's interesting. Apollo 10, that mission was come up, have the lander detach with 2 people, smaller little device, 2 people, less power, etc. Go down, and I think of this like Disneyland, right? You're going to Disneyland. I don't know. I'm not too big a fan myself, but whatever. Going to something good. 3 people in the car. 1 person's got to stay in the car. 2 people get to go. Now, those 2 people are going down, but this is even worse. These 2 people are going. They're at the gates. They're going to go in, and they're supposed to say, nope, pretend you've got a problem and see if you can stop the lander, turn around, come back, dock with a command module, which will bring you back home. So they did it, and it worked. But it's like, oh, don't you just want to land? Like, okay, well, we're just going to land for a second, and then we'll, how about that? Anyway, protocol, safety. And so there was a lot of buildup, 1 through 10, and then we start with Apollo 11, which is 1 plus 10. So let's take a look at that, and we'll come back to this idea here in a moment. We organize it well, we can see this. So here are the questions that I want you to think about. I'd love you to pause, you can write these down. How many missions attempted to have people land and walk on the moon? The 8 and 10 went there, but they didn't land and walk on the moon. And how many succeeded? Did they all? None? How many people have walked on the moon? How many individuals have walked on the moon? How many people have seen the complete sphere of Earth, the entire planet from space? I might leave that to you. I'll tell you, there's a little trick in that one. And let's just hit it. Take some notes, okay? So you know the game. By the end of the decade, we will land on moon. And sure enough, 1969, Apollo 10 plus 1 or 11. So it's kind of like Apollo 1, but 10 plus 1. How many people went? You know the answer. 3 people went. They detached the lander. How many people went down? 2 people went down there. Who were they? It's a very short clip. A quick, just check out YouTube and watch it. Neil Armstrong and, if you saw Toy Story, Buzz Lightyear, Buzz Aldrin. So I won't go through all the names. I'll let you do that. But it's kind of cool. And they had done other missions too, right? So who's going? Test pilots. You don't want necessarily, if the test pilot happens to be a physicist or electrical engineer, someone like that, then great. But you need a test pilot to deal with these things, and they have lots of experience. They've got to deal with the stress, they've got to stay calm, and they did this. So they landed, and they made it. Neil Armstrong, you watch. That's one small step for a man, Bryce said man, one giant leap for mankind, or humankind, we can say now. And we got a little story to say at the end. what they bring back. You know, we don't need exact numbers, but they brought back about 50 pounds worth of stuff that they could analyze. Like, what are the details of this? And what did they leave? They left experiments. So what experiments can you leave on Moon? You can leave up seismic detectors to do any, see if you can pick up any moonquakes, maybe from the crater walls having landslides, because there's gravity, right? And that shaking moon, even a little, but really subtle detectors or reflectors where you can send a beam up to the moon, bounce it off that reflector, bounce it back, time how long it takes, and measure and keep a track of the distance of the moon. A variety of measurements. What's the solar wind like up there, etc. So experiments were left. And experiments were left every time. And then what a lot of people don't realize is that roughly every 6 months, but not exactly, but twice a year, we went up. So 1969, Apollo, so you can fill this out. Once you get the idea, you got it. How many went? 3. How many what? 2. Watch them, watch them, watch them. You can even look for playing golf on Moon or throwing stuff. It's very cool. The video here was not nearly as good, and even in the short time, it got quite a bit better. So you watch what they bring back, like 75 pounds of stuff, and of course they left experiments. Year 1, success. (1970) Apollo 13. Who went? 3. How many watched? Some of you know this. If you haven't heard it, that's fine. Disaster. Disaster. But it could have been worse. It's interesting to hear. You have these oxygen tanks, and in manufacturing, one of them got dropped, but they thought it wasn't a problem, and stored. And anyway, it's an interesting story. There's a movie called Apollo 13, directed by Ron Howard and done by a whole team, and it was really wonderful. And it's a lot of the scenes they shot were very similar to the actual movie footage of people working in mission control, et cetera. So they really made it realistic and told the story. So here we go. Apollo 13, heading up there, right? Everything fine. This is the command module, the one that orbits, the orbiter. This is the one that's designed to have the power, oxygen, to be able to vent off your breath, etc. This is going to bring you home. And when you go through the atmosphere, it's going to protect you from heating up. This is the lander. There was an explosion. One of the oxygen tanks exploded. It affected the other one too. They look back and it's like, wow. They got to crawl into here, right? The lander. Now they didn't jettison this part, right? But they had lost this, and they knew that they had an issue with power. Anyway, I won't tell you the whole story, but nonetheless, this is a big problem, right? And they knew it. They just set their course off, so they'd readjust their course, and people back home, mission control, were working this out, trying to figure out how you're going to, because these people have a good chance of dying, right? And so they had to readjust it. They had to save fuel and power, right? Basically, power, and get them around. So they managed to come around. Now you lose contact. You don't know if they crashed or what. So that's scary. And apparently, 2 of the guys were busy taking pictures of the far side of the moon, right? And the other guy's going, oh, I know, Lovell, he made a comment and said, well, they're not going to be able to develop those pictures if we don't get you home. So, let's pay attention. So, anyway, they were trying to figure this thing out, and there was all this stuff, I won't tell you. And they made it here. Now they're coming back and go, wow, now we got to get there. And they had very simple navigation system, computers, etc. Anyway, they worked it out. If you come in too steep, you're going to fry. If you get rid of this part, this isn't designed to go through the atmosphere, heat up. You got to keep that command module, but it's no good. You haven't got everything you need. If you come in too steep, you're going to fry. If you come in too shallow, you're going to skip off it like a rock off of stone. And so it's a huge challenge, and the odds of them surviving, probably not so great. And but they survived. And so yeah, we didn't go. These people almost lost their lives, and that's just drives me a little batty. All right, did we go again? Well, no, 2 days. Yep, we did. So let's do it. Let's fill this out. Let's see where we go. Now you'll know the missions. Get a little bit sense of that story. Watch that movie. It's a really great movie. What do we have? Well, you got to get it worked out. Lovell was asked if he was going to go again. So I think it was a news story, and he was asked. Let me just go back and figure all this stuff out. You weren't there, but if he was going to go again, and he says that he was about to say yes, I think, Kelly, and then he saw a hand go up that went like this, and it was his wife. So he said, "No, that's my last one." Dangerous, right? I mean, people, this is crazy. How many went up? 3. How many walked? 2. How much rock did they bring back? Well, they used a hand cart and brought back about 100 pounds, more and more. And of course, they left experiments, you know? And then what? 1971, Apollo 15, 3 went, 2. And this is the first rover. 175 pounds, got that right? Okay. Left stuff. There's a rover. So you drive, oh, that'd be so cool, right? To drive around on a go-kart on the moon. That'd be so cool. Were they done? No. 1972. How often? Twice. What number? 16, 17. How many people went? 3 and 3. How many people walked? 2 and 2. How much did they bring back? Well, they had a rover to drive around. They brought back like 200 pounds. And they had a really cool rover, which took them, what it was, 20 miles out. They went out for a while, and the videos got better too, so they're really cool. You get these later videos. 250 pounds, something like 3 days out there. Got to stay longer. And so now that's the question. Do we go back, and how long can we stay? Can we set up missions? Can we set up telescopes? What can we learn about being there? What can we learn about the moon itself? And so on. And so, in conclusion, what do we want to take away? We want to be able to answer those questions. So what are the totals? So if we look at this, I want to make sure that you're seeing this. I mean, how many total missions were there? Well, it's easy, right? It counts them. 1, Apollo 11, 2, 12, 7. 7 went, 6 succeeded. 6 success. So how many people left? Well, 3 times 7, that gives you 21. We have the Apollo 8 and the Apollo 10, but we've got 2 that are double counted. Not many people have seen Earth with their own eyes as a whole beautiful, beautiful blue marble sphere. We'll talk about that in a second. So success. So how many people walked? 6 missions times 2. 12 people have walked on the surface of the moon. That's it. Never again. How much did they bring back? Add it up. It's like 850 pounds, 850 pounds of stuff, you know, just, if you think 1,000 pounds, that's fine, 850 pounds, whatever. And they analyze that. Okay, so a couple of things. I think I'll do that and that. Okay. Yeah. Two things. We went up under military, mission conditions. And it was getting pretty serious, right? And we were behind. And so we set this course and put our mind to this, as they did in World War II, and as we have with pandemics, right? So, but when you come away from the globe, and you see it together, I keep this globe because it says the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, USSR. But when you get away, there's no lines. We're people. We have a common ancestry, our cousins. Where do we start? Africa, fanning out, right? So we're connected. We're connected. We divide these lines, someone likes the Giants and someone likes the Dodgers, right? Someone likes the Patriots, someone likes the Cowboys, someone likes the Niners, whatever. The Raiders, the Warriors, that's fine, have fun with it, but we are living on this planet. And so we go up on this military thing and you step away and you see Earth totally whole, and that changes you. And the first mission left a plaque. And that first mission, what did that plaque say? It said, "We come in peace for all mankind." And when you come away, you've got this military fighting, and if I can say, just driven by power mongers that, really fan people into these frenzies. There's another way of seeing this. When you get away from it, and the power of astronomy, of saying, maybe there's a way that we can connect for planet Earth. Because we're much closer now, too, with technology. And so on a military mission, we can have the chance of bringing us back if we study this and we watch this and we connect with our cousins around the globe and we realize that we are cousins. Okay, there's that. Number 2, this. What does that do for us? I'll tell you what that does for us. We studied that. We studied that and studied that and get better and better equipment to study it and still study it. And people study this stuff that they brought back from moon. Just see the YouTube, go and check moonwalks and all that stuff. It's really kind of fun, especially check the rovers. That's so cool. And that video direct from the moon. But we studied that. When was that? Last one, 72. Why did we stop? Well, various reasons. It's interesting to see people's reaction, but there were more planned. But there's money. There's what we should focus on as a country, what we need to do. This was during the Vietnam War. This was happening while the Vietnam War was going on, right? So, which was really a war between U.S. and USSR, right? So it was going to go on, but again, there's a discussion about why it didn't. But we haven't gone back, but we've had all this stuff. So 1972, and after about 15 years of analyzing this stuff, it was aha, and getting better computer and technology, etc. Aha. Because of this, did we go to moon? Yeah, we went to moon. And because of this, we have a very good idea of where moon came from, the origin of our moon. Next video. Simple, short, but no, I mean, you ever wonder, like,